Schedules increase independence. They increase understanding. They increase access to learning and participation. Think of that library example. All of those things are achieved just by the child knowing exactly what was happening at library. So it lets them know what is happening when and in what order. Not, okay, we're going to library, but we're going to know what order things are going to happen. The other thing I love about schedules is they decrease things. They decrease dependency on the teacher or the teacher assistant. They reduce prompts. You don't have to tell them what to do when because they now know the order they're going to do things. It reduces questionings because they can visually see what is happening. So we're adding our visuals, which is so important. But most importantly, it decreases anxiety. Hey everybody, super excited. In today's podcast, we're going to do a deep dive into schedules. I haven't done a podcast on schedules ever, which I'm really surprised because I think it's such an important tool. So I'm always about trying to give you that little tip or inspiration to make a difference. But this podcast is full of lots of meaty, I've spent hours preparing this podcast because there's so much I wanted to say. And I couldn't believe I hadn't talked about it earlier. So I know we hear the word schedules, but I think everybody sometimes forgets, well, why do we need a schedule? And what are they about? So I went back to my first book, Making a Success, and the second topic I talk about in that book is actually using schedules, different types of schedules. But one of the things I did when I had an autism class or a class for children with autism was actually we would start every day with each child doing their individual schedule. Now, some children would be cutting and pasting it. Some children would be ordering it. My child with oppositional defiance would be choosing his own order that he wanted to do activities so he felt in control of his day. He would be choosing his rewards. Actually getting the child kinesthetically involved with that schedule. Another one of my little boys was a great handwriting task. So we were using it for that handwriting and he liked to write out the daily schedule. So straight up we're doing handwriting. Another one of my boys would be getting him to number. So he was doing numbers. So you can teach everything through the daily schedule. But what I know, rather than just showing the child the schedule, when they're physically engaged with it, when they're pasting on the order of events or Velcroing on the order they want to do things or actually engaging with it, they really absorb it and get a feel for it. But the thing that I learned at the autism school that I'd never learned before was you must add time to your schedule. And I go in, or timetable, or whatever you want to call it. I still go into so many classrooms or I see schedules that don't have time. And our kids need to know how long. Otherwise, they won't get off what they're loving or they won't push through. Now, those of you who have done my workshops know I talk a lot about time management is anxiety management. If you think of yourself, if you know how long, you'll stay for longer. If you know, you'll sit, you look at your watch, only 1 minute. Have you ever been at the hospital and you're sitting there waiting at emergency? 1 minute feels like 1 hour. For a child sitting at assembly, 1 minute might feel like 1 hour. So this might be one of those podcasts you need to stop and write things down. But one of the things I'd love you to stop and reflect on, whether homeschool, preschool, secondary, post-school options work, it doesn't matter what age, this applies to all ages. When does time go slow for the autistic person you know? When does time go slow? When does it drag? Is it their homework? Is it sitting on the mat? Is it the playground? When does time go slow for them? And what behavior do you get as a result of that? Are they constantly asking you, when can we go in? When does it finish? Are they doing a run? My guess is you're going to get behavior. Are you going to get them shutting down, giving up? So when does time go slow? And when does time go fast? When do you hear things like, I only just got on it. It's not fair. I only just had my turn. When are they like, no, I only just started? Or they don't want to get off something because they're so involved in it. So when does time go slow as when does time go fast? And how are you helping them regulate that? How are you helping them know how long? Because my guess is you're not using a timer that is accessible or time that's inaccessible. So the number one, accommodation and adaptation, I believe all schools, homes, workplace need are some form of timer that is accessible. What I mean by that, and I just had an email last week from a school going, we're trying to teach a child analog time and they're not getting it. Seriously, who uses analog time? If you go to the train station, it's not up in analog time. Your boss doesn't tell you to be at work at 10:35, like 25 to 12, like in that old analog way of describing. They'd say 10:35, 11:35, not 25 to 12. We all use digital time now. And I really think we need to begin with the end in mind. Children with autism spectrum are going to be adults with autism spectrum who need to access time, whether it's for public transport, a job, whether it's for social activities. We all use time, meeting up with friends, exercise. You use time every day. So we must make time accessible. And I believe in two fantastic tools to do that. One is a time timer, and I know you've all heard me talk about them a lot, so I'm not going to talk about them so much today. But what I'm going to talk about is using your time timer with a schedule, so adding your visuals to the time timer. The other thing is the portable schedules or digital schedules. I've got them back in stock and I'm so excited because we couldn't get them and I literally had to get them from America. Some of you, if you don't know them, please look on my blog or the podcast page this week because they're very hard to describe, but they're made to be a bookmark and they have a digital timer at the top and you can stick with Velcro, your visuals on there or actual objects or photos. So you can make your own little digital schedule. But in secondary, I'll use that just as a bookmark because most kids aren't allowed their phones out and they need access to digital time. So then they've got that digital time as a bookmark in their maths book and it actually just has the time of day there, or you can use it to count up or count down. Oh, I know this isn't probably working verbally, but my point is I want you all to think about using schedules and a timer. They must go together because otherwise I've had children who rush through their activities and like, I've finished now. I can go and do what I want. Whereas you wanted them to do half an hour on maths, half an hour on handwriting. How long do they have to do the activity? And I find if they know how long, they can push through. So let me do a deep dive into what are schedules. So schedules are a diary, a calendar, a timetable. They can be chunking down individual tasks like toilet, wash hands, dry hands. It can be breaking a bigger task into smaller tasks. Temple Grandin, those of you who have done the Temple course with myself and Temple, she calls it chunking. And she is a visual learner and she talks about how important it was in her jobs as an adult that tasks were broken down into chunks visually. So this is what a schedule is, not just a schedule. It's chunking things down. It's breaking it down slowly, slowing it down. So it enables the child to keep track of daily events, sequences, activities, but by adding the timer, it also lets them know the time frame, how long they're going to spend doing each of these activities. So I believe the most important things about schedules is they let students know what is happening when it's happening. Yes, what is happening, when it is happening, and what sequence is happening. Okay, we're going to assembly, but what are we doing at assembly? Well, we're singing the national anthem, then the principal's giving out the awards, then year 5 are doing a song, then we've got the orchestra, but next week might be different and you need to change that. The year 6 teachers giving out the awards, you need to let them know. And actually getting them to move those Velcro visuals on and off or having a schedule they can tick off as they go. I like to use white laminate and a whiteboard texter where they can tick them off or move them to the finish, getting them kinesthetically involved, getting them movement, not just looking at it, actually engaging with this makes the world of difference, I think. It helps them know the order of activities. So like I say, with the assembly, knowing the order, or if you're doing turn the tap on, put the soap on your hands, wash your hands for how long you're going to say. I mean, I know we want the children to wash their hands for long. Some of my kids might be singing happy birthday and then turn the tap off, dry your hands. And some of my children need to know how long to dry their hands too, by the way. Some of them tend to just do a little dry, especially if they don't like hand dryers, you might want to use paper towel. So It's letting them know too that there's a change. Like if there's a change of teacher, well, is the teacher going to be away for 1 week or 5 weeks, a librarian? So on your schedule, you need to let them know we're going to library, and you might have a photo of who the new teacher is. And when they get to library, do they sit on the mat or do they return their books first? So you can break down, it's not just library, what are all the tasks they're going to do? And if you have the little digital portable schedules, you can actually put, we're at library for 50 minutes, set the timer for 50 minutes, and have in order each week the tasks they're going to do. Now, if there's a change, that's an opportunity to let them know. So if 1 week they're going to return their books first, then have a story, you can move it around with them. And can I tell you, it'll take you 20 seconds to move around and save you getting a lot of behavior. Because if they don't know what's happening, you're going to get behavior. You're going to get constant questioning. You're going to get disengagement. You're going to get, some of my children, if it was library, they'd be hiding in a dark corner or go and reading a book they do like because they're trying to self-regulate. So actually letting them know, getting them to change the schedule makes the world of difference. So in my book, Making It a Success, what I say about schedules is this, and I thought I would just remind you, schedules increase independence. They increase understanding. They increase access to learning and participation. Think of that library example. All of those things are achieved just by the child knowing exactly what was happening at library. So it lets them know what is happening when and in what order. Not, okay, we're going to library, but we're going to know what order things are going to happen. The other thing I love about schedules is they decrease things. They decrease dependency on the teacher or the teacher assistant. They reduce prompts. You don't have to tell them what to do when because they now know the order they're going to do things. It reduces questionings because they can visually see what is happening. So we're adding our visuals, which is so important. But most importantly, it decreases anxiety. If children or adults know what is happening when and in what order, it decreases anxiety. If they know they are going to be going on Minecraft or reading a book at 1 o'clock, they're not going to ask you when. They're not going to be constantly getting anxious, worried when something's going to happen. They know. It's a bit like now we have Netflix, it's different, and on-demand shows. But back in the day, the TV guide, it was nice to know when your shows are on. Who used to love it? I lived in Melbourne, the Green Guide. That was a really important thing. It showed you the schedule, the TV schedule. So you knew when your shows were going to be on. And if you missed it, when the replay was. So for some of my children, that visual schedule creates the same calm and certainty. For some of my secondary school children, it might be just highlighting each week the timetable, putting in changes, but physically getting them engaged. I cannot emphasize enough, not just showing them, physically getting them engaged, to highlight, underline, cross it out as they do it. Any of those things, physically getting them engaged in that calendar or activity. Now, when I had a class, when I worked in a special school, all my children had a calendar on their desk. And at the end of every day, and I had a class of 8 nonverbal children when I started doing this, and I used it with all my classes, they'd cross off each day. So we finished Tuesday, so we cross off Tuesday, tomorrow's Wednesday. And then I would have Wednesday's schedule up on the board before they left. Those of you who've done my courses, transition starts the night before. So we go through the daily schedule the night before. In secondary, going through what's due tomorrow, the day before they leave every afternoon. When I was in a base room in secondary, we would go through what's due tomorrow, what's due later in the week. It's an opportunity to stop and reflect what's coming up. Now, if I'm going through tomorrow's schedule and there's been a change, like, oh, well, we're not having assembly. We've got a special, it's book week, and we've got a book parade. We put that on the schedule the day before so they see it. But hopefully that was on their calendar already because we knew that was coming up. So I like to have, or if there's a school closure or long weekend, like we've got the June long weekend coming up. So we would have that on our calendar and would be looking, going, oh, they can already see there's a holiday next Monday on their schedule for June. So I'm a big fan of a calendar at the end of each day, crossing it off and then looking at that. What tomorrow, the detail of tomorrow. And then at home, I like parents to have a calendar and cross off each day that they're finished and then any personal events. And with Google Calendars now, it's so easy just to print that out and have things on there. And getting kids to add in things too. Like one of my little boys used to go to Target on a Friday to pay off his lay-by. His mum was fantastic. He loved money and he loved Lego, but when he was little, he liked the $3 Lego, but as he got older, he wanted the $100 Lego. So every week he would earn money in class and at home towards his Lego, and on Friday they would go and pay off the lay-by. And actually going and paying off the lay-by each week was such, he was learning money skills, he was learning going to the shops. There were lots of things he was learning through that experience. It was fabulous. It was so good. And it often took him a whole term to pay it off, but seeing that every week, the money being paid off really kept him motivated. So anyway, that was an aside. So I recommend you have at least 4 types of schedules: a calendar, a general classroom timetable or schedule, an individual work activity or schedules, and sequence for routines like those wash hands, or when they get to their desk, some of my children have get your book, get your pen, get your pencil, like a getting started routine. A getting started routine can be fantastic. I'm sure you're already doing lots of these things, but can I just check you've got time with it? Have you actually got some time where that's applicable? So obviously, I am a big fan of schedules, and I hope I haven't bombarded you with all these things. So I would love you to think about, where does time go slow? Where does time go fast? Could we introduce some sort of visual schedule? Where is a time a child has trouble moving from one activity to the next, transitioning? Where do they have trouble moving from one activity to the next? So parents, it might be getting up in the morning and getting ready for school. Well, do they need a visual schedule in the morning that says eat breakfast, get dressed, clean your teeth, get your bag? And maybe it tells them how long for each activity. And then the time that's left over is for them to do something they love. So they know they'll get time doing something they love before school once they've ticked off or moved through each of those activities. And that can be the same schedule every day. But some days you might have to go to school earlier than others, or they might have before school care. So where do they have trouble transitioning? Do you have trouble getting them off an activity? Well, my guess is they don't know what's happening when. And this is where I'd use the now, next, later. Now we're doing maths, and then you might have a more specific activity, what they're going to do, breaking it down into an individual schedule. Next, we're going to have 15 minutes on our iPad. And later, we're doing reading, okay? But you're going to tell them how long they're on their iPad. Otherwise, they'll think they're on it for the rest of the day. And I don't like finishing a schedule with something they love, because then they won't transition off it. So I would recommend that's in the middle. Now, with the new time timers, which if you haven't seen, have a look at my website. They are amazing. They have everything the old ones needed, i.e. they have magnets on the back now so you can put them on your whiteboard. They still have legs so you can move them around. This is, well, it used to be called the large, now called the medium. I don't know why they changed the name, but the 20 centimeter ones. And now they come with a little card. Now, don't put on the card what the child's doing. Put what they're doing next. So when the timer goes off, they know where they're going, because they already know what they're doing. Okay, so I would have what they're doing next. So if their reward is next, that will help them push through finishing where they're at. Or if they're on their reward and going to something, they know where they're going next. So with your schedules, I think it's really important you think about what is accessible for the child too. So some children, actually, just your board maker, which by the way is really expensive. If you don't have access to board maker, we still have the Picks for Pecs CDs, which are hard to get now, but we stockpiled them because I think they're so much easier to have that CD. They have like 2,000 visuals. I don't know anyone who uses more than 2,000 visuals. Board makers like 10,000. Who's got time to make 10,000 visuals? But anyway, you might have some sort of visual system with pictographs, basically. I love photos. I'm still a big fan of photos, but make sure you take the photos from their perspective. Make sure it's a photo of their book, their pen. Make sure it's a photo of your classroom. If they have to sit at assembly, Take a photo how it looks from where they're sitting, from their perspective. That's very important. Robin Stewart, an autistic woman who was on my podcast a few times, shared that when she made her book on periods, how it was important to take the photos from the person's perspective. And I think that is really, really good advice. So take the photo. Or it might be objects. And if you look on the blog, you'll see some examples of how I use the schedules. Some have the portable schedules. Some have the actual words on there. So you just get the digital schedule, add your Velcro, add your word, your picture, your photo, or the actual real object. So have a look at those, and you can do the same on your timer. You can add some Velcro down the side on your timer and put the visuals down the side, depending on the student and what makes it accessible for them. Now, I like it where the child takes them off as they finish, and you might have a little finish box, and you can just go to the $2 shop and get a little box that they put them in when they finish. The kids tend to love that. And again, you're getting them engaged and actually engaging and kinesthetically involved with the schedule. And that is such a good way to do it. Now, I think the biggest thing you need to do is make sure the time is realistic, because some children will get a bit anxious and talk about, we didn't finish. That's okay. We'll put it in the to finish later box. Some of my children need to know, okay, we didn't get time to finish that maths. We'll put a bookmark. We'll come back to it, or we'll put it in box, because some children get anxious about not finishing. So can you talk to students about that's okay, not everybody finishes. So make sure you talk that through, because some of our students, that's why they get anxious about time and timers. My recommendation is you always give them a 5-minute warning. So if you're going to be doing half an hour of maths, put the timer on for 25 minutes. They might have their individual digital schedule that tells them what to do, and then 5-minute warning to finish off. For your ADHD kids, you'll get your best work in those last 5 minutes. And remember, for ADHD kids, schedules are just as important. They help with organization, routines. They help them knowing what's happening when. It helps them planning. So schedules are just as important for our ADHD kids. So I thought I'd give you a few examples of why and when and why to use schedules, like when are good times to use schedules. And I've put a whole heap of my favorite examples for home, school and secondary on the blog or in the e-zine if you get it, my e-newsletter. So make sure you have a look at that too. So the daily schedule, well, obviously it ensures that the schedule, they know what's happening, how long they're doing each activity. But knowing how long will actually help them stay focused for longer. And they won't rush through activities, because some of my students rush. So knowing, we've got half an hour for maths. So that lets them know how long, what's happening, because it stops the rush, but also it helps them push through when they look up and they go, we've only done 10 minutes. And this is what happens for a lot of my students. They'll self-report. I spent hours on that assessment task. No, it felt like hours. So helping children develop a proper sense of time, how long time really is, can make a huge difference. For some of my children, like I say, actually the schedule of the lesson or the activities helps them break down what is happening. So with assembly, remember it might be singing, dancing, principal announcement, awards. So they know, okay, I'm going to have my timer on. We're here for half an hour. And here's what's happening. But if you've ever been, I don't know about you, but as a parent, I've been to a lot of things at schools, and I love it when they have the schedule of what's happening. So I can see, we're halfway through now. We're getting near the end now, because some schools run on time, some run slow. So knowing what is happening when. So if you've ever been to a concert, it's nice to know what is happening when. So I'm sure all of you can relate to that. But what I know with the specific activities, it tells them where the end point is. They can see, because sometimes they go over to assembly and it goes for 3 hours because it's a special assembly. Sometimes it's just half an hour. And you know ahead of time how long it's going to be. So letting them know that. I would also have I would go to a lot of schools that run on time. Everything's on time. But other schools are more flexible. If your school's more flexible, you need to say, sometimes we run on time, sometimes we finish early, sometimes we run late, and maybe write a social script around that we can always reset the time for another 5 minutes. So I would be cautious. If you say something's going to go for half an hour, I would let the child get up and leave after the half an hour if they need to, if they've pushed through to be there. The other way I think that we need to use schedules, timetables, is if there's going to be a change, any change. So if it's raining and we're going to be inside, what are we doing instead? Are we watching a movie? Are we watching YouTube? Are we playing board games? Let them know what the change is. Don't just say we're not doing something. Let them know what's happening. So if you're going on school camp, that's going to be on your calendar. And then you're going to tell them the bus leaves at this time, and you're going to tell them the individual activity. So it's very important. And like I say, if a teacher's away or a staff member's away, letting them know they're away and for how long. So on the library, if the librarian's away, we'll have a picture of the person relieving them if we know who it is, and we'll let them know they're here for 1 lesson, 2 lessons, 3 lessons if we know. Or if they're sick, they're away this week, I'll let you know next week, and actually letting them know that. So actually letting them know what is replacing an activity. And if you don't have a schedule or a timetable, you've got no way. You don't have a system in place to let them know about change. So very important. To break tasks down, and this is why I love the digital schedules. So you might do 10 minutes work, go for a walk for 2 minutes, go to the toilet, 10 minutes work, have a sensory break, breaking things down into small tasks that works for them. This is part of their individual plan. So if they can only write, you might be write 2 sentences, do finger exercise break, write 2 sentences, go to the toilet, write 2 sentences, have some barbecue shapes. So you can break it down into individual for them. And what I find, they love that because they can see when the breaks are coming up. And don't forget, I'm a huge fan of sensory breaks rather than using their rewards. Go for a walk, have a drink, go to the toilet, do some star jumps, or have some quiet time. Listen to one song of your music, or think about read. Some of my children need quiet time. Read 3 pages of your book. Whatever gives them a true break. And you all know I'm a huge fan of toilet timing, not toilet training. So this builds in our toilet timing. For my kids who are highly anxious, seeing on their schedule when their favorite activities are coming up makes them more relaxed. They can see they're going to get that downtime. So having that schedule is amazing. Now, any children who are obsessed with their special interest, knowing when their special interest time is, seeing that across the week, across the day, knowing when they're going to have access makes a world of difference, because then you're not going to have behavior asking you when they're going to do those things. So make sure they can see when those activities are. And in my experience, they won't get off something they love unless they know when the next opportunity is. In my school day, I normally have 3 opportunities a day for that special interest or the thing they love. And it might even be time with a friend, or, other children have time with their friends. So it might be 5 minutes with a certain student that they enjoy spending time with. And one of my boys, he loved building Lego. It was 5 minutes building Lego. And again, we'd put the timer on. So we're using these things together. Now, I want to explain a little bit more about these digital schedules. So they're actually called Mark My Time bookmarks, and they're made to help encourage children reading. But years ago, we started turning them into portable schedules, and they're just fantastic. I really need you to go on the website and have a look, because they are visual, they have a digital time at the top, and then you can choose for it to count up or count down. But more importantly, when you look at them, they have an orange button and you can pause. So unlike the time timer, you can't pause the time timer. So if I have a student who is procrastinating and we're going to do 5 minutes handwriting, I will pause the timer and I'll say, when you're ready, and I'll hit go and they'll start writing. Yes. So some of my children who procrastinate, if they get up and start walking around, I'll be like, Matthew, I'm just going to hit pause because we're doing half an hour work for 5 minutes building Lego. So you can use it for students who pause. I do have to tell you, one of my mums was using it really effectively with her daughter for homework, who was a serial procrastinator with her homework and self-reported she spent hours on homework. So her mum was really good at setting it up. If her daughter got up to feed the dog or needed the toilet, she'd hit pause and be like, that's fine, Natasha, when you're ready, let me know when you start your homework and we'll hit go again, right? And what she discovered, her daughter was probably doing 10 minutes homework but spending 50 minutes procrastinating. And this helped her daughter stay on task and made her realize that the quicker she worked, the quicker she got to do things she wanted. And the procrastination actually wasn't serving her. Anyway, then her daughter was going on her computer and her game was taking ages to download, and she was allowed half an hour on her computer. So she says to him, "Oh, I'll just hit pause while it loads." And I just thought that was so funny because she wasn't playing the game. As far as she was concerned, the computer was procrastinating. So she hit pause. And I said to her mum, I think that is perfectly reasonable. She is absolutely saying, well, the computer's wasting time and not doing anything, we'll hit pause. So I think where we can help children understand this, that it can make the world of the difference. And if they use it back with you, well, so be it. But letting children know when things are finished by adding that to that portable schedule, showing them when they can see what's going to happen when. So if they're going to the playground, they're going to throw a ball, then they're going to do running, then they're going to do climbing, they can actually see what they're going to do in the playground instead of just go out to the playground and run around. So it gives them a concept of what they're going to do. There was also one of my mums who she just wanted to have a shower in peace. So what she did, and you'll see the schedule on the blog, her son loved Lego. So she would put the timer on for 20 minutes. She just wanted 20 minutes on her own. And her son played with the Lego. And it had the actual Lego on the timer. And when the beeper went off, he could knock on the door and mum would come out of the bathroom. So brilliant. Gave him that concept. Now, back to the schedule. So you can either get them to count up or count down. If you're not sure which function to use for your student, or child, you might need to experience. But in my experience, think about how they use time currently. So if they're a child who likes to watch like microwaves count down, some of my children love watching the microwave countdown. Or if they're used to a digital timer on an iPad, they tend to count down as well. But their games, if they play Fortnite, that normally has a countdown. I think they're 20 minutes per game, or that has a countdown. But some games are count up, how long. If they like DVDs, they tend to count up. If they like YouTube, it's digital time counting up. So look at what they currently use time with and think, is that a timer that counts up or a timer that counts down? Oven timers tend to count down. So think, have they been using time? If they have been, which one will work best? Now, if they're a child who gets anxious about time, I recommend the count up, not the count down. So I just find that makes them less anxious. If it's counting down, if it's counting up, it's easy to go, okay, we need another 5 minutes. It's easy to extend that. So I highly recommend you have a look at the portable schedules. They are unbelievable for every age and stage. They're just $20, only in Australia, but I'm sure you can find them elsewhere online. They are much more expensive on Amazon and places, but I'm just keen you get them out to the kids and get them working. Make sure you have a look at this blog, because I think you really need to see the visual of these portable schedules. But please remember this, a timer plus add your visual schedule, some sort of visual, whether it's word, object, pictograph, equals success, because what it creates is consistency, routine, structure. And as a result, you will get positive behavior because they know what's happening when. So I hope if you are not using schedules, you are excited to go and think about different types of schedules, either you're adding a calendar, whether you're adding an individual work schedule, whether you're adding, like I say, in my Making a Success book, they start their day every day, cutting and pasting or writing out their schedules. Have fun. I promise you schedules are such an important tool and we forget how important they are, I think. And if you're already doing all of this, it's just a good reminder why we do these things. Before I go, don't forget to check that my emails are coming through as a safe provider or whitelisted. And also, I would love you to think about your favorite podcast episode that you've enjoyed in the last month. And can you do me a favor and share it with friends, family, colleagues? Just take a moment to share it and let them know why you enjoyed it, because the more we share, the more we care, of course. But There's so many podcasts available at the moment, and I think that so often people don't find my podcast, and I get so many beautiful emails every day from people who tell me what a difference a podcast episode's made to them. Whether it's like this one, it's just reassuring you that, oh yeah, I'm already using schedules, or it's adding something new. Remember that most strategies only work for 1 in 10 children who are neurodiverse, but for that one child, it can make the world of difference. I have classrooms that have portable schedules for every student, and I have others who just have it for 1 or 2, but it's made the world of difference to that student. So I'm hoping one of the tips or strategies today make a world of difference to you and the kids you know. I hope you're all excited to go and try schedules for the students you know. I just wanted to say I've created a nice little, I saw it on Facebook and I just loved it. It's more of a kinesthetic schedule where the children turn over the flap after they do each activity, or you can do it the other way and they turn it back as they complete, then they see what the next activity is. I probably wouldn't use that for PDA or ODD children, but I think it's a wonderful, fun, kinesthetic visual for children. And I would add probably stickers or something to make it a little bit more interesting. It looks pretty plain as it is, but a great different way to do schedules. And I saw that and I thought of some children because, as I say, not every strategy works for everybody. Also, if you're looking for some learning, don't forget I've got online on demand. If you've never done my course and been, sick of hearing on Sue go on my course, so make sure you sign up to that. I also teacher assistants. I highly recommend that you look at some of my teacher assistants courses. They're just 2 hours jam-packed with strategies. If you're looking for ideas like this, teacher assistants, so often these are the strategies, setting up a visual schedule so when you're not in the classroom, the children know what to do. I used to get my teacher assistants, teacher aides, whatever you're called, I call you angels, to make a lot of these visual schedules and activities for me so that I built independence. I love that saying, give a person a fish, they eat for a day, teach them they fish, and they learn for a life. They can fish for a lifetime. Teacher assistants, your job is to teach the children to fish, and teaching them to do their own individual schedule, work out what works for them, actually frees the teacher up, but also means when they go to high school, they've got used to timetables. In life, we all have schedules. So I highly recommend, if you're a teacher assistant, really think, how can you create schedules for this child to build independence?